Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for coming to our Tuesday, February the 18th City Council agenda meeting. I now call us to order. First order of business, we will have a pledge of allegiance and invocation, should he pleases, by Councilman Byrd. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Councilman. We will now, there is no special presentation this evening, so we will now move into our order of business for your city council. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Now we will start with ordinances on final reading. Madam Clerk, please start with 5A.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 1331 Burgess Road from R1 residential zone to A1 urban agricultural zone with special permit.
We have Councilman Smith, followed by Councilman Ledford. Move approval. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. 5B.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to lift conditions from ordinance number 12019 or previous case number 2007-0143 from property located at 2817 North Point Boulevard, more particularly described herein.
Councilman Smith.
Move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. 5C.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone properties located in the 2400 block of Gun Barrel Road and 7400 block of Mintom Road from RTZ Residential Townhouse 0 lot line zone with conditions to R1 Residential Townhouse zone subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Ledford. Oh. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. 5D.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone part of property located at 4431 Bonnie Oaks Drive from R4 special zone to C2 convenience commercial zone subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Gilbert.
Would you approve?
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. 5E.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 6811 McCutcheon Road from R3 MD moderate density zone with condition to R3 residential zone.
Councilwoman Burrs.
Move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. 5F.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 5291 Usher Drive from R1 residential zone to R2 residential zone.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This being in your district, I'd like to move to approve.
Thank you very much. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Item 5G.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone part of property located at 2000 Stewart Street from R1 residential zone to M3 warehouse and wholesale zone subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Byrd, I believe this is in your district. Councilman Byrd.
Move to approve.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposes nay. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to ordinances on, well, actually, ordinance 1 on first reading. Madam Clerk, please read 6A.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 1915 South Greenwood Avenue from M1 manufacturing zone to O1 office zone.
Councilman Byrd.
Thank you, Chair. Me and John, talked to John Bridger earlier today. I'm going to have to have some more discussion about this, so I would like to move to defer this for one more week, if it's all right with this body. Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded to have it move 1 week to the 25th of February. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. Item is deferred for 1 week to February the 15th. Now we move on to resolutions. Madam Clerk, let's start with 7A.
A resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to negotiate a donation agreement with the Ames Center, Inc. for the donation of property located at 1815 East Main Street for the development of 60 units of permanent supportive housing contingent upon the property being accepted into the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, TDEC, Brownfield Voluntary Agreement, BVA program, and the Ames Center, Inc. being awarded financing from the Tennessee Housing Development Agency.
Councilman Byrd.
Thank you, Chair. If everyone that is in here concerning this, this part of the agenda, could you please stand? All right, thank you so much. Please have a seat. Thank you. After talking with the attorney and the people from the Ames Center and the Vecino Group, the conversation came up that the timeline for the deferral, or for me to request a deferral, ask for that, will affect or have issues with stretching it out to get to apply for the grants when it comes up in March, March the 4th to be exact. And I wanted to ask you, Phil, that if that will affect that, and I'm not, going to request for a deferral today, that this right here, if it is approved, that this is only to approve the discussion of the donation of this piece of land. This is not to approve the the giving of the land to anyone, but just only the discussion, and that once it comes time for us to talk about or to move on donating the land, it will have to come back in front of this body.
That is correct, yes, sir. It only authorizes the mayor or his designate to negotiate a donation agreement. Any finalized donation agreement would have to come before this body as a private sale in association with this transaction. That provision would also contain some language regarding reversion in the event that there is something that is not done that is promised on the front end.
All right, and then after that, if that was to go through, if that was to happen, then another portion of it would come up for zoning as well.
Yes, sir.
All right, so I want everyone here to understand that this process that we're doing, if it was to go through, is to give the mayor the ability to only discuss. We are not swapping the land right now or donating the land to anyone. They're only discussing this. And part of that discussion has to be with the residents as well. So I do ask that the city, the Ames Center Vecino Group, is 2 neighborhood association meetings happening this Thursday in Morningside, Eveningside, and happening this Thursday in Holland Park. And I encourage everyone to please be there so that the questions and the understanding can be relayed to the people that live in this community and border this community. And with that being said, I do move to approve the discussion of this this agreement with the mayor and the Vecino Group and the Ames Center. So move to approve.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Any further questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. Item 7B.
A resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply for and, if accepted, enter into the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, TDEC, Brownfield Voluntary Agreement, BVA program, as it relates to property located at 1815 East Main Street.
Okay.
Councilman Byrd.
Thank you, sir. Just for my constituents, so they will understand this falls in line exactly the same what we already discussed just here previously, right?
Yes, sir, and it is important to be able to get that brownfield designation regardless.
Regardless,
Yes.
we do have to do that. So just want you guys to understand what is going on right now, and with that, we move to approve.
Moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Item 7C.
A resolution approving short-term vacation rental application number 19 STVR 00177 for property located at 113 Ox Highway.
Is there any opposition here? Okay, is the applicant here? Okay, we're going to have to switch. Mr. Vice Chair.
Mr. Young, would you like to come up and give us a presentation, please?
It will be 113 Ox Highway. Okay, we have 113 Ox Highway, STVR 19, STVR 00177. We've taken several pictures of this property. So that doesn't seem to be working. There we go. This is a map showing you, of course, the property under review being in the center. The properties that are identified as the green dots are the owner occupied. STVR is currently operating. The two at the top left of the screen is the two non-owner occupied STVRs that are in the vicinity of this property. And we've taken, like I said, several pictures, and the maps to the left will show you the vicinity of where we were standing around the property. Let me get to parking area. The last slide we have here. We received the application on November the 14th. It has went through the process. The property has passed all of its inspections, and here we are tonight. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Young? Chairman? Okay. I'm going to put your light on. At this time, is the applicant present? Yes, would you come up, and you have 5 minutes to present your case, and then the opposition will be given 5 minutes as well.
Okay, certainly. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. My name is David Lazuriaga. I'm the owner of 113 Ox Highway. My wife and I, Carrie, bought this house back in November. We absolutely fell in love with the charm and character of this house, and it was just something that, struck us right away. So we came and we bought this house with the intention of having it as a vacation home, and through that process, we learned that the prior owner was using it as a short-term vacation rental as well. So we thought, hey, why not? This would be a good opportunity to share the property with other folks. So we went through the process as your staff has indicated. We did everything that the city have asked of us. We've met with all of our neighbors around the surrounding property. We've talked with both neighbors that we share the joint driveway with. I believe you received a letter of support from the one next door to us, Jonesy. So we've got spots to park 4 vehicles on the property. And so the 2 neighbors that we share the driveway with, full support of the project, no issue whatsoever. We've met with everyone else. There was 3 letters of opposition. 2 have since basically rescinded. They said, we don't have any issue with what you're planning to do with the property. But apparently there's one more opposition here tonight, which we'll hear from. So that's basically it in a nutshell. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions for the applicant?
No, I have none. Just like to hear from the opposition.
Okay.
The opposition, if you would like to, you have 5 minutes to speak. That'll be divided among anyone that would like to speak. 5 minutes total. If you would, just state your name and where you live.
Hello. I'm Lynn Rutherford, and I live next door. So I would just like to say that I have, my opposition has nothing to do with the applicant. I just don't agree with non-owner occupied Airbnb rentals. I feel like non-owner occupied Airbnb rentals poke holes in Chattanooga's neighborhoods. St. Elmo residents have voiced this in the past on the neighbors list. The guests will always be strangers, and the owners live on the other side of the country. I wish they would just move in next door. I would love to have real neighbors that are present in my neighborhood and community. But yeah, as it is, it's more like a hotel. It's almost as if no one's living there at all, which is not appropriate for a residential neighborhood. Let me tell you why. When we were working on our house and we didn't have a kitchen, it was our neighbors that had us over for countless dinners and offered us hot showers. Years later, when I came home and thought there was an intruder in my house, it was my neighbor that came over with a baseball bat, was ready to go in there with me. He didn't know what he was getting into. He's a good neighbor. When a tree fell on one of their cars, we came over with another neighbor and worked on that with 3 chainsaws that day. I need to collaborate with my neighbors on exotic invasive vegetation issues like kudzu and flooding that affects all of these properties that abut each other in this area. My neighbors count on me to find missing dogs, keep an eye on their kids running around in our shared backyard space. There's a trail that runs through the woods back there, and it connects 5 or 6 properties. I don't feel safe knowing that that house is going to be empty or with transient folks that aren't a part of my community. They are correct that this house was used as an Airbnb in the past, just before they purchased it, but the previous owner did live in St. Elmo, so she was part of my community. She was invested in our local issues. Would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. Jeff Meldal, I live at 109 Ox Highway. I also want to reiterate that the Zuriaga family seem like really nice people, and we'd be delighted to have them or a family like them as neighbors. But in the circumstances, we are looking at the prospect of not having any neighbors at 113 Ox Highway. We're looking at a continual rotation of bachelor parties, wedding parties, family vacations in town for a few days, and then gone back to the 4 corners of the country. In speaking in opposition to this STVR, I hope I can convince both the council and Mr. and Mrs. Zuriaga that a long-term family tenancy would be more profitable to the community. In basic economics, we learned that commodities like the beautiful house at 113 Ox Highway have a use value and an exchange value. Right now, both of those values are profiting folks who do not live in Chattanooga, who live far from Chattanooga, from your constituency. The rents are going to the landlords in California, and the use of the property is going to out-of-town tourists. As a community, we have very little control over the exchange value, but we can do something as we have, these meetings and your veto power on these applications. We can do something about the use value and how the community assets that we share are used. As I know, I've spoken to you all about STVRs before, and you've heard repeatedly from constituents, especially in St. Elmo, far too much of our neighborhood is being used as hotel space right now. We've got 2 applications just tonight in St. Elmo. You saw on the map 2 more pending, and there's a bunch already existing. I won't rehash the stories we've already told you about residents finding themselves like an island in the middle of a sea of tourists, because I think we've heard enough of that over the last 2 years that we should be able to act decisively on this. Please do not grant this or any further STVR permits in St. Elmo. Please work with us, encourage the landlords to rent these beautiful homes to local families who will appreciate being part of the neighborhood, shop at our grocery stores, come to our community meetings, send their kids to our schools. Nashville, as you know, has enacted an ordinance banning non-owner occupied STVRs in residential zones. St. Elmo is getting to be as far gone as some of those neighborhoods in Nashville, so I think we should be looking at matching, at least bringing ourselves up to Nashville standards on this before it gets as bad as it got there. Finally, report after report emphasizes that we need long-term real estate for families in Chattanooga, and we're never going to get back to having a big middle of affordable housing if we keep renting our places out as STVRs. So thank you very much for your time, and
Thank you.
hope your decision is well thought.
Mr.
For
Chairman,
your consideration.
you have the floor.
Thank you. Yeah, I've visited this house. I know it very well. I've had an opportunity to meet the owners, and they're really fine people, and they do bring something to the community because even though they may not live here, but they're going to be spending quite a bit of time here. I've also had an opportunity to talk to some of the neighbors personally and met the neighbors around them, and they have offered their support. With that being said, Council, I move to approve this application.
Is that a second? We have a motion on the floor to approve with a second. Are there any questions? All those in favor by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. We have one no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, would you read 7D, please?
A resolution approving short-term vacation rental application number 19 STVR 00182 for property located at 3043 St. Elmo Avenue.
Is the applicant present? Is there any opposition present?
I move to approve.
We have a motion to approve in a second. Any questions? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. So moved. Motion carries.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll turn the chair back over to the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Madam Clerk, if you will read 7E, please.
A resolution approving short-term vacation rental application number 19 STVR 00186 for property located at 2411 Ivy Street.
Councilwoman Coonrod, followed by Councilman Byrd. Okay, we have a motion to deny, and it's been properly seconded. Any other questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion to deny carries. Madam Clerk, let's go to 7F.
A resolution authorizing and directing the clerk of the council to advertise for public hearing on March 17, 2020, the de-annexation of a certain parcel adjacent to the current city limits, which is located at 2815 Military Road within the city of Chattanooga and Hamilton County, Tennessee.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is in your district. I would move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Item G.
A resolution to direct the Chattanooga-Hamilton County Regional Planning Agency to proceed with Area Plan 10 as part of the Strategy for Great Places.
What's your pleasure? Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Item H.
A resolution to direct the Chattanooga-Hamilton County Regional Planning Agency to proceed with Area Plan 11 as part of the Strategy for Great Places.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just so everyone knows, Area Plan 11. Area 11 is actually the Hamilton Place, East Brainerd area, which is Council District 4, a great majority of it. Just wanted to throw that out there before I move to approve.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Item I.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to award contract number E19010 to Tally Construction Ferdinand Peachway widening in the amount of $1,449,059.23 plus a contingency amount of $144,905.92 for a total amount not to exceed $1,593,965.15.
Councilwoman Byrd.
Move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any further questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. That concludes this part of our council meeting business. We will now move on to purchases.
Good evening, members of council. We have four purchase items for your consideration, all being from the Department of Public Works.
Excuse me, Tony, if you just wait a second, we have some folks want to leave. We'll give them an opportunity to leave. Thank you all for coming this evening. Very welcome. Okay, Tony, thank you, sir.
Thank you. First item being from the Waste Resource Division of Public Works. It's a purchase of a utility cab tractor being awarded to Kubota of Chattanooga for a total cost of $51,496.36. The next item being a new blanket contract, erosion control materials from the Citywide Services Division of Public Works being awarded to Groundscape Concepts LLC for a total estimated annual amount of $40,000. Also from Waste Resource Division of Public Works, 2 new blanket contracts for standard valves being awarded to Piping Supply Company Incorporated and Consolidated Pipe and Supply Company Incorporated for a total estimated annual amount of $150,000. Also from Waste Resource Division, 2 blanket contract renewals, PVC pipe and fittings being awarded to Piping Supply Company Incorporated and Consolidated Pipe and Supply Company Incorporated for a total estimated annual amount of $125,000.
Council, what is your pleasure? It's been moved and properly seconded. No further questions. All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Purchasing items are approved. Now we'll move on to other business. Councilman Byrd. Wait a minute, we're gonna back this up. Okay, we got.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Tyler or Carrie, just wanted to make sure this Thursday at 6 o'clock, we will have someone in Highland Park in Morningside, Eveningside, during those neighborhood association meetings.
Yeah, excuse me. Yes, we will be there at both of them. We'll just be jumping from one to the next, but no problem.
Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Vice Chairman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to reappoint Randall Addison to the Youth and Family Development Board for District 1.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Kumrai.
Thank you, Chair. I got a couple of things. Tonight, if you all are available to attend a civic dinner at the Chattanooga Cigar Bar tonight, the discussion is going to be around economic mobility. We really want to hear from constituents to get your input, people that we haven't heard from before. And also, I'd like for people to come that's normally not invited to the table to give your input. So if you're able to come, we'll meet right after our council meeting is over. I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. And also, on Friday at 6 o'clock, I'll be hosting my mailbox gathering meeting for District 9. It will be held at the Avondale YFD Center at 6 o'clock. This is a collaborative meeting with our school board members and our county commissioners as well. So all 3 of us will be at this meeting. And then last but not least, just want to share some important legislation that's up. And if you are in agreement with it, I ask that you reach out to your state representative and also to your state senator in support. So we've got House Bill 0137 along with Senate Bill 0036, and it goes as follows. As introduced, it enables a person who has been disqualified from exercising a right to vote due to a felony conviction to apply for a restoration of voting rights if they're making payments in accordance with a payment plan for court costs, restitution, or any overdue child support. So if this is legislation that you can get on board to support, please reach out to your legislators. This is a very important bill, and we most definitely want to make sure that people have the opportunity to get their rights to vote.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman. Any other council member has any other business they'd like to share? Seeing none, we will now move on to committee reports. Councilwoman Burrs. No reports. Councilman Byrd. No report. Councilman Coonrod. No report. Councilman Gilbert. Oh, he's skedaddled. Okay. He snuck out on me. He warned me, so I oversaw that. Mr. Vice Chairman Henderson.
No report, sir.
Councilman Ledford. No. Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did have a short Public Works and Transportation meeting today, and we'll have another one in 2 weeks after agenda session.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Councilman Smith. No report, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. Okay. Now we move on to recognitions of person wishing to address the City Council. Mr. City Attorney, would you please read the rule?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
At
So
the
you can
end
work your way up here.
of each council meeting, the chair will recognize members of the public that wish to address the council. Here's your rules. Each speaker wishing to address the council can only be recognized at the microphone up front. For that purpose, you can't have more than 3 minutes to speak. You can address the council only upon matters within their legislative and quasi-judicial authority and not under something that's under the authority of other governmental bodies. Don't use vulgar, obscene language nor use the floor to personally attack or personally denigrate others, and address the council as a whole while you're at it, sir. And you can address the council only once during the council day, but thank you, sir. Please go ahead.
So I cannot address issues with the police?
Yes, sir, you can address issues with the police.
So my name is Ernest Henderson. I moved here July the 31st. My first couple of weeks was tremendous. The Chief of Police, David Roddy, he just has it in for me. I'm not a native Tennessean. I was falsely arrested on November the 22nd. It's a constant thing, harassment with the police. I got arrested the other day for going to my own storage unit where I paid fees to get to my storage unit. I was given a summons to submit myself for the same exact charge, criminal trespass, was not arrested because they know that they don't have good grounds. And I was basically attacked on a consistent basis by the police. And on the situation was they do not have a court order to deny me from my own stuff. December the 15th, once after I was arrested on November the 22nd, the court date was December the 17th. On December the 15th, David Rudder, the chief of police, organized an accident. He created an accident for me to be involved in. Once the accident took place, I called the police on the 17th to get a police report. And every time I call the police, there's a white male sent out. There's a white male sent out. And it's a consistent problem with David Rudder in the police department with me. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't go to clubs, I don't hang out, I don't do any of those things. But it's a consistent thing, and it's all because in the past I've sued the state of Tennessee. And he's just consistently harassing me and falsely arresting me for nothing, for going to my own storage unit. And nobody that looks like me that is in here, let me say that again. We have a problem in the world with people that look like me getting stopped for a traffic stop and losing their life. Here it is, the chief of police is creating violent incidents for me to be involved in. I'm not doing anything. He's creating violent incidents and just tremendously going out of his way to harass me. I mean, I'm being falsely arrested, and it is as if y'all, being city council, are just giving him a leash to do whatever he wants to do to people.
You know, I have done not anything, and he's just harassing me. When I make reports, the request for information of Tennessee Records Act, and I make requests, he doesn't answer the request. He doesn't answer the request. I mean, this is just out of control of the violence that's being presented for me, just because I filed a lawsuit against the state of Tennessee in the past. I'm not a person that is from Chattanooga. It doesn't matter where a person is from. Everybody deserves to be treated fairly. And this has been a consistent problem. And I need more than just nodding your head.
Thank you, sir. That's your 3 minutes, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
So that shows me you have no concern either.
I have concern, and I'll be happy to speak with you afterwards, but your 3 minutes was up. Is there anybody else? Councilman Byrd. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Councilman. Is there anybody else that would like to address the council this evening? Yes, sir.
Council, I'm Charles Petty. Y'all probably thought you would never hear from me again, but I wanted to address the what I call egregious denial of the waiver for the 4 nonprofits. They, and I think you all know this, are worthy of our support. We're talking about the YMCA. The programs that they provide to this community cannot just be summarized in 3 minutes. They have wellness, they have healthy living programs, they have aquatics, they have child care and camps. And Chairman Oglesby, you know intimately about that because you were recently in the photograph at St. Paul's, which is another one for the child care program that the Y is now running through them. They have education and development. They have a backpack blessings. I don't know if you know about this, but they provide nutritious, non-perishable food items to students each Friday so that to reduce weekend hunger for children. You have a homeless population in this community that is being addressed by these institutions. St. Paul's. They have St. Catherine's Shelter for Women and Children. That takes funding from them. They house up to 8 homeless women on a temporary basis. They have Family Promise, which helps the homeless families in this community. Second Presbyterian, they have St. Matthew's Shelter. That's a nightly beds for up to 10 men at a time. They also help with drug and alcohol programs. Moccasin Bend worship companions once a month. The United Way. There is no way any of us can ever look at and not know what the United Way does in this community. Some of you may be on the boards of some of the organizations that receive fundings from the United Way. My point to all this is these are worthy institutions that a board, and I know that you individuals did not make the decision to deny this, but you did set this up. The point I want to make is they have to come back before you for their budget. You have to approve it or deny it. And if they still want money out of these organizations, I would ask you each to deny it. Specific questions were asked when this was sold to you. Hey, what about these religious and nonprofits? And it was very, oh, well, they can apply and we'll let them out. That hasn't happened here. Thank you.
Sir, if you will hold on right after this, we had a conversation today involving members of the bid board about this particular matter. So if you would just hold on right after this, I'll be happy to speak with you and give you an update, and I think you'll be pretty happy, but just hold on, okay? And thank you for bringing it to our attention. Is there anybody else that would like to speak this evening? We are adjourned. Okay. Don't sit down. Okay.